I ended up throwing
having
like
any
2 innings.
transactional
Just
items.
accolades.
All that matters is like really getting better in the now.
Okay, let's go. Welcome to Surviving Youth Sports Podcast, where we dive into real stories behind the wins, the losses, and the lessons that come with raising, coaching, and being young athletes. Now let's get into it. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Surviving Youth Sports. And today we have Devon Brown. And interestingly enough, kind of our first person who saw the show and reached out to us about coming on and telling about his experiences, you know, mainly as a parent and coach. But welcome to the show, Devon.
Appreciate being on.
Now, you have 3 kids and you do your own fitness. You have your own fitness business. You coach. You still compete in endurance events. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, sports has been a huge part of my life ever since growing up. I grew up in a small town here in Indiana. I did a little bit of everything. I was the not late bloomer, but like I didn't start basketball till junior high, and I ultimately played for a small college later on. But I was a kid that wore jeans to basketball practice my first year. Like my parents weren't cool enough and weren't in sports enough.
That's hilarious.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, I still remember like one of my first times playing. I was like, oh, one of the like cool kids threw me the ball, so I took off running with it. I was like, oh man, this is never gonna happen again. My background with that, you know, being in small town Indiana, everything's around basketballs, around sports. Town of about 15,000, and it would literally shut down when Friday night basketball happens. The love for that kind of came there. We always laugh. Ironically, I have a swimmer as one of my kids because I quit swimming because I told my mom I wanted more than 9 moms to know that I was good. So I went to basketball where everybody knows what's going on. But yeah, I've got 3 boys. Their ages 13, 10, and 9.
Oof.
All different sides of the spectrum. I don't compete as much. I had my heyday. I played college. I got into like Ironman and ultra distance stuff and traveled. I've raced in China. I've raced in Japan. Done like Spartan races, that kind of stuff, and had a blast. Now my kids are taking up my bandwidth. And as much as I hated to tell clients, when clients would come to me and be like, hey, I don't have time to work out, I'm like, well, no, you just got to make it. Now I'm in that thing where I'm like having to bring weight plates to the sideline so that I can get a workout in.
Yeah. No, and that's interesting because, and I'm finding the same thing. 2:30 hits and you got the pickups. And then 3:30, they got more pickups. And then you got, my wife and I looked at our schedule the other day. And man, I swear I had like anxiety because we have 10 weeks coming up. There's 3 days where someone doesn't have a game. 3 days, 3 Fridays. That's it. Someone has a game every day. And we kind of looked at each other and we were like, man, I can't be at all these. There's no way. Like, and I'm not even talking about like the same day, but dude, I don't want to be at a field till 9:30, 7 days a week. Like I will get burned out. You know, I will get burned out completely. And I coached like 4 teams last year and I was so burnt. I found myself telling I was like, it's like 8:30. And I'm like, all right, let's get this game over with. And I took a step back and was like, wait a minute. I love watching my kids play. And I'm sitting here going, let's get this game over with. But I've been at the field since 4:30. And I'm like going, okay, that doesn't work. So we have to adjust too, right? You got to bring weight plates. You know, I got to tell myself, shut my phone off during the day and go, I'm working out. Even if it's 30 minutes. How do you like, and I say this, how do you do it? Because I know I've had to just take a step back and analyze, but we're all in this, especially with multiple kids. And we are trying to survive. How are you doing it, man?
Well, so that's what I thought your guys' podcast is actually like a resource for like parents to be like, man, we're in the grind of this
Yeah.
life. How do we get out? And that's what kind of attracted me to it. But yeah, as a former athlete, you don't realize it, but you get the luxury of these compartments where they're clean. I lift weights from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. I eat breakfast and I've lived my entire life that way. So it's honestly taken me, gosh, we're probably 18 months now since we had a huge paradigm shift, which revolved around us switching clubs and doing things. Now our bandwidth has changed with that. But that's where I looked at that and said, I don't have hours to block out for working out anymore. I have to capture 10, 15, 20 minutes
Yep.
or do it in weird ways. So it's like I always keep a ruck pack in my vehicle. It's got a 45-pound plate in it. If I'm being not lazy, but if I'm being tired that day, I can just throw it on my back, walk it around. 45 is enough to move around and do squats and stuff. But it's not like, you know, pyramiding down from 10-8 to 6 and doing 4 sets and 90 seconds rest and like this whole big thing. That's not realistic anymore. What's realistic for me is to be like, hey, I'm going to be stuck at the swimming pool for the next 2 hours. Our swimming pool is 40 minutes away from our house. So there's no way I'm driving home and driving back. But I can go out and be one of those silly guys walking around the town, doing things, go to the corner of the soccer field and get something in for me and check a small box that says has done it, not check a box that said, well, I'm back at my 225 bench press and I feel good or,
Mhm.
that.
Well, I think you said something really interesting. You can't lose yourself either. Like if working out or reading a book or whatever your thing is or things as a sports parent, you can lose yourself really quickly. And then you start to put everything that's like your identity becomes your kids. That's not healthy. Under any circumstances, that's not healthy. Doesn't mean you can't give all your kids the opportunities. It doesn't mean that you can't, support them and help them on their journey, but it has to be their journey more than it's yours. Being a parent's part of your journey, can't be more though. And so you have to have those things that are yours. And it's man, I'm telling you, I got scared last year because I was like, man, okay, what am I doing for myself? And then I'm running people around it's okay to take a step back and be like, all right, man, I can't coach every team. And there's some tears. One of my kids wanted me to coach. Didn't work out. I'm coaching him next year. You mentioned swimming, swimming, golf, tennis, little bit, a lot, well, not a little, a lot different, right? I mean, we're talking very individualistic, non-team sports. None of my kids have ever done it. And what's the difference besides
Yeah. So
obviously, I mean, you don't have to deal with as
it's
many
a
parents.
totally Yeah, well, I mean, so like when I quit swimming and I told my mom I was done, I chose basketball, and she didn't say a word. She didn't fight back. She didn't do anything. And I was probably more talented in swimming, but basketball was where I loved it, and I felt recognized and part of something bigger. And then in college, had my mom down on the floor and told her, hey, this is gonna be my last hurrah. And she looked over at me. She's like, man, I miss seeing you swim, hon. And I was like, what are you talking about? You've never said a word. And she said, it wasn't my responsibility. It's your journey. So like, I've always held that. So like where swimming's like any individualized sport's different is obviously like, it's you're exposed, you perform, you don't perform. And with basketball, you have that to an element, but with individual sports, you're also free to go chase without hurting others on your group. One of the things, my oldest played basketball for a little bit, just randomly came home one day. I was like, hey, dad, I want to play basketball. We never even told him I played. Like we had everything hidden because I did not want him to feel that he had to follow my footsteps. He comes in, he's like, I'm going to try out for a travel team. I'm like, buddy, you're going to get cut from a travel team, but whatever. Like, let's go do this. And he made it and he played for a few years and he liked it, but he he never got comfortable. He was a starting point guard, and he's like, "Dad, I hate it when I turn over the ball because I let my team down." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, it's team sports, or you have a responsibility to everybody." But then COVID came, and he was out training. We finding ways to train. Nobody else was training, and he's like, "Dad, now I'm not happy. I'm angry that my teammates don't care, and they turn over the ball and they don't care, and I turn over the ball and I'm like dying on the inside." So
Mm.
like we recognized very early that individual sports, being able to have that control, was more in my kids' aptitude. But the training's different. I've always said I think the two hardest sports, high school and college, to be a part of long term are swimming and wrestling because they are so isolating. Swimming, you have coaches, but really your ears and eyes are on a black line and on ceiling tiles. 90% of your practice has nothing to do with another human being. Wrestling, I mean, wrestling's got weight cuts and the whole thing of when a person gets a hold of you and you can't stop them. That's
Yeah.
that's a tough thing.
Yeah. Yes. However, as a baseball player, when you fail as much as you do, I mean, it is an absolutely brutal thing because baseball, in a weird way, really, yes, it's a team sport, but like, hey, man, you're the only one hitting. It has nothing to do with your teammates. Nothing. And pitching is probably a little bit less so, but the failure, that's when you're individual, when they strike out, there's not really anyone to blame. If you don't win your swimming meet, you don't win your swimming meet. Like, there's no outlet. And even as a parent, right? Like, God, man, and I coach obviously, quite a bit. Man, these people will find excuses. It's like sometimes, and you know what? Sometimes you just fail. Sometimes the like, and how is that in swimming? Sometimes the guy's just better than you, or the girl's they're just better than you, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you've
Yeah.
done anything wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, baseball is definitely baseball and golf. You're trying not to fail more than you're trying to win. I mean, when you're a
Golf,
legend hitting 1 out of 3.
golf, don't golf, golf. Don't
Yeah.
even the golf. I can't. No, the golf. Sorry, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, golf takes a special person.
Well, but though, I mean, when there's like, where it's different than swim, I mean, swim, you're individually done. Nope. Very few swimmers actually worry about winning. That's a foreign concept in swim. Yeah, they may give medals or ribbons or things like that, but they usually go 8 deep. It's not everybody gets an award, but it's also an aspect of like, hey, the ball can't turn if you're not faster, it's just not magically going to happen one day. So with swimming, a lot of times it's more about they lay out more like cuts, and you have to get this fast to earn this kind of meet, and to go up in this type of team. So there's always that. If you're the worst swimmer on the team, literally you can be excited about improving your time. If you're the best swimmer on the team and you just dominated everybody, I mean, my 10-year-old is fast and it's special to watch. He'll go out there, and this past weekend, he lapped on a 500. He lapped the entire field and got out and was frustrated because he added time. So like it's you versus your time, but your time also is measured against these other cuts and teams and so on.
I know nothing about swimming. I'm barely an average swimmer. I feel like, football or throwing a baseball. I mean, there's no 4-hour trainings. You have your training, and your body is not meant to do this. It's not at all. So you can only throw so many times in a day. You can only take so many hits in football. Swimming, can you just go? What's give me the what does it look like for your 10-year-old? And by the way, congratulations to him. I was looking him up a little bit. He seems like he's very dedicated and wants to be great, which is awesome. We don't have enough of that in the world these days.
I want to circle back to that
Mhm.
on the like what his journey is, but like the big thing with swimming, it's like you may be able to only throw so many pitches a day, but you can screw around with 90 other aspects of baseball as much as you want. I mean, with basketball, I could go and shoot jump shots and, you have to worry about wear and tear on your elbow and cartilage and that kind of stuff. But you can also play one-on-one. You can play pig. You can dribble a basketball with your feet. You can find, if you're if you love it, you can string it out. Swimming still, it's coming out of what I would consider kind of the dark ages. It uses that old like Russian periodization, more and more and more laps, laps, laps. And we're starting to see some Olympians, like Michael Andrew, Cam McAvoy, a few weekends ago, just set the world record in the 50 free. And he came out and basically said, hey, I'm only swimming 1,500 meters, 2,000 meters in a practice, and I'm not even swimming every day. And then he became the fastest human in the world. Between weightlifting and doing other things, I think that swimming's starting to embrace that science. That's probably the downside of where swimming's so small, is that the science is way, way, way behind. I mean, whereas baseball, they're now starting to get, the sports bras to monitor how far they move to monitor. Swimming's starting to get there, but since there's not as much money in it, it has to wait till the bigger sports cycle through, then it starts finding a way to adapt it.
Awesome. Yeah, and talk to me about it's Gabe, right? His journey and, what he wants to accomplish and what it's like as a parent, to have somebody that's really dedicated to their craft at such a young age.
So we're in like this weird paradox, and that's probably like the biggest thing that attracted me, what you guys were talking about, because you had a lot of, like things that make sense. And I've been saying for years, like there is no such thing as an elite 10-year-old. Like that makes sense in a vacuum. And I've had kids in my business that dad brings them in. They're like, hey, this is the next soccer superstar. I know it. And I'm going, yeah, like you just brought in Java Juice and he's played video games half the time we've talked, and like probably not that thing. I've had one kid in my 20 plus years that walked in me as a fourth grader, walked onto the court, and she looked up at me and I was like, what's your biggest goal? She's like, I'm going to be a Division I basketball player. And just her aura, I don't know how to explain it. Like when you've got it, it's hard to explain, but she had it. And 3 ACL surgeries later, she still got a full ride to play basketball. Like just had the body, had the desire, parents that were willing to do. But that's super rare. And I think the mistake that a lot of people have is that if you're gifted, they look at that and go, great, these gifts are going to get there. You lose those gifts pretty quick. If you're a hard worker, they're like, oh, you can outwork this. You can you might be able to work yourself to a low level college like I did, but you're not making the Olympic team just based on hard work. Those two things have to cross section. You have to have the genetic help and the talent and desire along with that work and structure. And that's why it's rare. So when my 10-year-old decided to like be this swimmer, that was like, oh,
You have to get out, please. That is hilarious. And they couldn't make it 20 minutes. Awesome. Go ahead.
But yeah, so that's like, I've got 3 boys and they're all on completely different journeys. I love my oldest. I'm the oldest of 3 boys. He and I will have that bond. He will be a pretty good high school runner. In fact, he may be like contending for a state championship as an individual. He's not built like the second one. The second one is the outlier. He is a little bit bigger. His brain works differently. He is all in. And when he's all in, he'll go through anything there. I always laugh. I'm like, my oldest, he's experiencing feet problems right now from running. And it's just as he's got Severs. So he's growing a little fast, pulling. But he went to physical therapy. He did his therapy just fine. And when physical therapy ended, that was the end of him doing anything on his feet. And so now he still struggles with it. If my middle guy, if he went to physical therapy and they said, take this pink cup and put it on your head and don't let that cup fall off for the next 4 days and you'll be magically cured. He would that cup would not fall off. There's no way in the world.
And You just said, I'm gonna add one thing to the hard work and genetics because that it is a real thing to stay healthy, to be in the right environment, to have the right coaches, the right trainers, the right like you have to get lucky as much as those other things. And there isn't an elite 10-year-old because uh, your son in 2 years, 4 years could go, I'm good. I'm gonna go do something else. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, there are people that are wired completely differently. There's also people that are really lazy that make $20 million a year playing sports, guys. They're just that much better than the rest of us. And I just parents, and I think what you're saying exactly what we want to say here, which is, man, if your 10-year-old's great and wants to be great, man, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't go, okay, what's the next thing? Enjoy that moment. Enjoy them trying to achieve, man, what did he run the 500? God, I wanted my time to be better. Okay, but like, what do we have to do for you? You want it, not me. What do we need to do to get better? And I'm going through it too, along with a lot of other parents. God, it's awesome to see them like sort of fail, but still have success and go, oh man, God, my two seam wasn't doing this right. I need to do this a little bit better. It is for me one of the best things happening right now with my kids' age, 6, 8, 12, 12. They kind of want to get better. And, that's going to take them way farther. And maybe it's in sports, maybe it's in something else. Anybody that has that, going to be fine. They're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, I think it's crazy because I think where parents get off the mark is that, or at least for us, my wife and I have to check in with each other on is like just because they have talent and promise doesn't mean that you get to go chase it. Like, and I think that's where parents get wrapped up in this game of, man, my kid is the best, whatever. Great. And then you chase it, and then he's 10 years old. Like he was a wrestler 4 years ago, and wrestling was his world. Now he wasn't old enough to be any good at it, but that was his world. And we were all in. And then one day he comes in, he's like, hey, yeah, I've been doing this swimming thing on the side. I really want to chase this, dad, and see where I can go. And instead of, I think sometimes we get stuck as parents and we're like, buddy, but I bought you the shoes and I paid for the coaching and I did the thing. Like, don't you want to, let's just stick in this a little bit longer. And then that's where the problems happen is like, they're kids. The chances are if their talent and their growth keeps up, they still may get distracted. And that's perfectly fine in our world. If our kid comes in and says, I'm the number one swimmer in the nation, I want to go try baseball. And we're like, man, buddy, you've never swung a bat in your life. Let's go see what happens.
yeah, that's funny. So do you think that we push kids too much and we burn them out of what they want to do? Because I think we'll disagree on this a little bit, but I want to hear your take on burnout because it is different with team and individual sports for a lot of different reasons. But I
Yeah.
definitely want to hear your take.
So burnout is like the dirtiest word. You might as well curse at me. Like it's so overused to me in youth sports that I feel like it just when I hear it, I kind of opt out a lot because there is true burnout. There is real burnout out there. But the rough truth that I want most parents and kids to understand is they never trained hard enough, long enough, and in circumstance to actually be burnt out. What I think that more of the world experiences is two things. Number one, they're being pushed externally, and that's no fun. That creates a distaste for the sport, not necessarily burnout, but a like I don't want to do this thing because I'm not the one driving. The other thing is that I think that most kids, especially around puberty time, experience like, hey, I'm the top dog. So my 10-year-old's like he's on top of the world. He's ranked number one in the nation.
Mhm.
he's the guy to beat. Kid grows 4 inches next year, that changes that. Or if he grows 4 inches and he just doesn't understand his body, there's a period of time that every youth athlete goes through that their body doesn't make sense to them. It's a foreign language. And to equate that, my analogy is if you're getting paid a job, I'm telling you to create 100 pieces for me, and I'm going to pay you $50,000 a year to create 100 pieces a day. And you're like, great, this job's great. I'm signing up for it. Well, a year from now, I'm like, hey, I want you to create 125,000. And by the way, I got to dock your pay to 45 because of other things. And you're going, wait a minute, I'm doing more work and I'm seeing less financial results. How does this make sense? I bounce out of my job. I'm going to go find somebody else. I think that happens in youth sports where a kid is used to being at a higher level or used to being recognized, and now they're not, and there's nothing they can do about it other than just stick there and grind.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is not burnout. That to me is like, what idiot would stay here for less money? Like, I want to go try something else, or I want to go. So that's where I'm a little different in burnout. I don't know that enough train hard enough to actually appreciate real burnout.
I think, and burnout's a very, it's a broad word, right? And I think, distaste for the sport for sure. And maybe this is true in swimming, and obviously running, it probably is truer. We play too much, and we are physically burning kids out in baseball. We're physically burning kids out in soccer. And I know this because my wife is a freaking medical physician for sports medicine. And the athletes coming in ain't 22-year-olds. They're 13. They're 14. And so you are right in that training, they're not training enough of their body. They're playing too much. Their body's like, dude, you cannot have the same repetitive movement, especially going through puberty, and expect like, oh yeah, I'll be fine. And I'm sorry about the Seavers, because my son went through it too. And there's nothing you can do about Seavers. So if your kid has Seavers, they're going to be fine. You just kind of have to deal with it. They can't get any worse. It's a horrible thing with your heel, and it's very painful. But the burnout is, to me, that's the physical part, but the mental part, leave your kid alone. If they just want to be okay, let them be okay. If they want to go play rec, let them play rec. Not everybody's wired to be like, man, I want to be really good. It's fine. They don't have to be great. They just have to have fun and enjoy what they're doing. And like you said, your son wants to be great. Awesome. Go be great. Go be great.
Yeah. Well, and so there was a study with, I think it was Julius Randle. I don't even know where he plays anymore, but in the NBA, he early on had gotten hurt, I think his rookie year, and they went in and looked at his knee, and they basically said he has the knee of a 10 to 15-year-old veteran. And they're like, what in the world? And then they started seeing all these same knee injuries in the NBA. And it came down to, with the AAU system, these kids were logging crazy games and hours. So they were coming into the league super polished, but their bodies were close to breaking down. And then that starts a debate. Like, it's a tough thing. Once you get to that thing, like maybe you don't get exposed and you're not as drafted as well and stuff like that, but you've also shortened your career, which means that you're going to make a lot less and do. So like there is no right answer there. I think what would help a lot of parents and a lot of athletes is that they put in the footwork to look at both sides and say, what do I want? What are the risks? What are the other outcomes? And I think that's how we play it is we go in there and my kid goes in there and says, hey, my oldest swam competitively for a good while. And he came in one day and was like, Dad, excuse me, I want to go run. I'm like, great, go run. What do you want to do as swimming kiddo? He's like, I want to keep it on the side. And then so the next season when he came in and he wanted $100 pair of goggles, I'm like, whoa, buddy, like you're keeping this on the side, which means our intensity is on the side too.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
So, and that's hard because you have to parent. One of my great sayings that I got from my dad was, the most unequal thing is to treat everyone as equal. And in today's world, that's a very uncomfortable statement. And what it means for me, and for especially sports, is if you put in the intensity and the effort, we'll try to rise to that intensity and try to go with you. If you don't, that's fine, but we're not going to play keeping up with the Joneses just because you feel like you have to. So swimming became a less priority for him. He got a little less we aren't punishing him with less access. We got a finite bandwidth for finances. Like, so we just cut that back. On the other end, we just went to a Florida race. And I'm like, buddy, like this is hard on our finances. I'll tell you what, we'll go race. You have to raise money for your own plane ticket. So we gave it back to him to say, hey, if your intensity is here, you'll find a way to make that money. If it's not here, we're cool with hanging out over the weekend and not going. So I think that's like the big thing for us is like, you have to be able to walk away at any moment. You can only rise to their level of intensity, not exceed it. And if they're all in, it's a special, fun thing, but it's exhausting. You know, when parents look at me, I go, man, it must be nice to have such a fast kid. I'm like, he's my hardest of the 3 kids, hands down. I love the kid. I spend a lot of time with him. But no, the ones that are just kind of in it and okay, I get to go run on the weekend because of that.
There was a baseball player that I had, really good kid. And I remember talking to his dad, it's about 5 years ago. And God, he was a really fringy Division I player as a pitcher and a hitter because he could really run as an outfielder. But he wasn't quite there. And the dad looks at me, great guy as an attorney, and goes, this is purgatory. Because he wasn't good enough to not have to go do everything, but he was putting the effort in to be really good. But it wasn't like he was like, okay, we're going to go to the local JC or a good Division III or division, because he was better than that. And the dad was like, this is purgatory. And I didn't really get it at the time. I get it now because he was right. He had to do everything. And he's like, this sucks, because I know he's sort of good enough, but like, it's not a slam dunk on either one. He ended up being a Division I player. He ended up only pitching. He's playing professionally in Australia now. The kid is. And, you know, in today's day and age, he probably isn't going Division I with the changes to the portal and everything, but it's okay if your kid is just going to go to a good small college. It doesn't mean you have to go to Florida or California or Texas or Indiana or wherever. You don't have to chase it. If your kid is what they are, that's fine. Embrace that, I think, is what we're both saying. And I don't feel like parents do that. They feel like, you know, I can go to Florida if my son's just okay and he'll be seen. Doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way for swimming. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter the sport. Parents, if you think it works that way, you're wrong. I don't do a lot of absolutes on here, Devon, if you've listened to a lot of the, you know, my opinions on stuff, because I think Gabe's journey is going to be different than, you know, my 8-year-old Knox's journey. And we might view burnout a little bit differently, but that's okay. But I'll tell you one absolute, that this might be my first one. You cannot buy or travel your way into making your kid a good or great athlete. You cannot do it. It's not possible. It's an impossibility.
Well, and I think you have to be careful what you wish for. That's what we always tell my boys is like, look, being the best at something, being okay at something, and being terrible at something, like there's different downfalls with all of those. And, you know, if you don't put your effort in and you get passed over, that hurts. And if you put all your effort in and you miss, that hurts. So there is no guaranteed path to happiness on any of this. But we always tell them, be careful what you wish for, because you better know what you're giving up. And with Gabe, he doesn't care. Like his friends are the reason that he loves swimming and he wants to spend time with his friends. So we have to cultivate that in there. But he'll go through whatever mountain wall, anything. He'll give up. He doesn't drink soda. This kid is 10 years old. He drinks 2 sodas a year. this is my Sprite endorsement. He drinks 2 Sprites and they always come at the end of the season. And that came from one small conversation to talk about, hey, you know, carbonation can create cramps and stuff and limit performance. So in his mind, he's turned that off. Now he wants to break loose at the end of the season and be like, this is my reward. So we feed into that. My oldest one, we never have those conversations with because he doesn't desire that. And I think a lot of Division One is always going to be the gold standard. But even at Division One, there's so many levels. When I knew I was done with basketball, I could have chased a small Division One at like Appalachian State or something like that. That sounded miserable to go away from my family because I knew there was no next level for me. I knew that once that thing was done, it was done. So what did I want to give up? And I didn't want to give up those things anymore. I think that's where a lot of, you know, I get in athletes and they're like, I want to go Division One. I had a girl, great, phenomenal build, perfect build. And she'd gotten hurt. She decided to change her sport. She wanted to go Division One that sport. I'm like, you haven't played this since junior high. Like it could happen, but how big is she want to play softball? I'm like, how big is the, you know, the shortstop for Tennessee that you want to go to? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, good. You're not going. Like, you're not going to ask for that because the giveaway is too hard.
And Division One, people have great experiences all over the place. This Division One, like let things happen organically. Enjoy the ride. And on that note, you know, give us the best piece of advice you have for athletes or parents, coaches. You know, I know that you know, you definitely have an interesting journey with runners and swimmers, which is they're more narrow. So I definitely would love to hear this advice because it can be universal advice no matter what sport your kids are playing. And obviously, you know, with your background, you're in it, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, a few universal truths that we have with parenting is number one is like I've said before, you know, rise to their intensity level. You never go beyond it. Be willing to walk away at any moment because again, it's their journey, not yours. But then just kind of as an athlete is like lay your stuff out and what you do want and don't want. Again, with my 10-year-old, it's been fun because Michael Phelps is the gold standard of swimming. Like that's the one swimmer everybody knows here lately. And when he first started swimming, that was it. He looked at Michael's times. How does his times compare to him? And he started beating the times. And like, that was like his big motivation. Here lately, he started looking more at like, he has a lot of friends that are college swimmers. Like that world is poured back into him. And he started looking at programs going, yeah, you know, this one can win a championship, but nobody has fun on it, Dad. And so lately he's gravitated towards trying to figure out Michael Andrew. Michael Andrew is an Olympian. Michael Andrew has a gold medal. Like it's crazy. And yet he's not known by a lot of people. And I'm like, what attracts you to this? He's like, Dad, he is amazing and he's having fun. And he doesn't look like when he gets done with his journey that he's going to need therapy from it. And that's, I mean, as great as Michael Phelps is, that's his platform right now is men's health and advocacy for mental health. And that's great that he's on that platform, but it also means that he's gone through that journey of absolutely hating where he's at. And that to my kid right now is going, I don't mind the work. I don't mind the small things, but I'm not going to be miserable in this thing. How do we have fun?
Sounds like we might need to get him on here. You know, we followed up with a few of the athletes. We got a couple more coming when they listen to their parents talk. And, you know, and I think it's really a cool thing because he might have a different perspective than you that you don't even know about. And that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. This is a first, and the support that people like yourself are showing us is great because we are trying to survive, and your survival is the same and different than mine and a lot of other people. So we really appreciate coming on. Best of luck to your kids, and you know, maybe get Gabe on it when he's ready. He's ready to come talk about how fun swimming is and what he wants to do. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. So that's one of the coolest things. That's where I feel like I'm doing okay as a dad, that I'm not overly sports obsessed. Is he got to do his first podcast. here in Indiana. And when it was first designed, it was supposed to be me and him because, you know, what 10-year-old can talk on a microphone? And the pre-show, they were just sitting there talking and doing. And I looked over, I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this. I just want to sit back in the corner. And then if you watch the whole thing, it's with Get Indiana and Nate Spangle. If the whole episode as a dad is amazing because he just sits there and you can see joy and you can just feel that his hard work is a staple, but the joy is real. Funny enough, that some clips from it went viral. And then we got to learn the other side of it of like, hey, buddy, a 10-year-old saying he trains till he pukes and he trains 6 days a week and he lifts weights is not a common thing. And by the way, that's abusive in some areas. Now you got to deal with that. So I loved it as a dad. I'm sure he would love to talk. He loves anything sports related.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's his own kid. We
Love it.
there's things we align on and there's things we don't.
100%. And that's the whole point of why we started this. Because there's other people out there doing podcasting. I'm not saying they shouldn't. It's not absolute. It's not an absolute. This kid and that kid and this parent and this situation, they're all different. And that's why we started this. So definitely appreciate having you on and sharing with us, you know, what your journey is. And, you know, to everyone out there, we'll just keep on surviving.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for joining us on Surviving Youth Sports. Remember, the scoreboard may tell a different story, but the snacks, the car rides, and the questionable coaching decisions, that's where the real memories and the real survival skills come from. Please share, subscribe, and follow us.